Let's get right to it. For years, we've all been in a technological arms race when it comes to cybersecurity, but the game has fundamentally changed. We're now facing a new kind of AI-driven threat, one that could genuinely trigger systemic failure in the financial sector. So what I'm about to share isn't just another threat assessment. It's a briefing on a fundamental shift in risk and the urgent, high-level response that's already happening. Y2K level alarming. Now, those aren't my words. They come directly from the security experts who are briefing the absolute highest levels of government. This isn't just another piece of malware we're talking about. This is a potential leap in offensive cyber capability that has, well, everyone's undivided attention. So here's the situation. An AI model has successfully and completely on its own hacked some of the most critical software in the world. This is not a drill, it's not a future scenario, it's already happened. So the question we all have to answer now is, what happens next? Let's break down exactly what we're up against. Now, the source of all this alarm, it isn't a nation-state or some shadowy hacking collective. It's an AI model that demonstrated a new and, frankly, a deeply concerning offensive capability. It's called Mythos. It was developed by the AI firm Anthropic. And look, it wasn't built to be a weapon. But during a controlled test, it did something that many thought was still years away. It independently found and then exploited what we call zero-day vulnerabilities. These are flaws that no human even knew existed. And that's the key here. Automated, autonomous exploitation is now a reality. Just to put this into perspective for you, one of the vulnerabilities Mythos uncovered was buried deep in the Linux kernel. That's the digital bedrock for countless systems we all rely on. And this wasn't some new bug. It was a critical flaw that had gone completely undetected by human experts for 27 years. An AI found it in a matter of hours what the best minds in the world missed for nearly 3 decades. And, this wasn't just a one-off thing. The AI didn't stop with the Linux kernel. It found critical flaws in every single major web browser, in core operating systems, and in over 500 other pieces of critical code. This discovery immediately triggered a global, frantic race to patch our most foundational infrastructure before anyone else could replicate what the AI did. But look, the fact that these vulnerabilities exist is really only half the problem. The real immediate threat comes from the incredible speed at which they can now be found and weaponized. This has created an entirely new pace for cyber conflict. And this is the absolute heart of the new risk we face, the speed gap. On one side, you have AI-driven offense that can compress weeks of human research into a 4-hour cycle, from finding a flaw to having a working exploit. On the other side, our human-led defense, which takes a median of 60 days just to develop and deploy a patch. 4 hours versus 2 months. That mismatch, it's not just a problem, it's an unwinnable race with our current strategy. So this speed gap was immediately recognized at the highest levels for what it is. Not just a technical issue, but a grave, systemic risk to our entire financial system. And because of that, the response was incredibly swift and decisive. This wasn't some technical debriefing in a basement. This was treated as a national security issue. Vice President J.D. Vance, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and Fed Chair Jerome Powell, they convened the CEOs of the nation's top 5 banks and sat them down with the leaders from Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, and the top cybersecurity firms. Let's be clear, this was a war room. Out of those urgent discussions came a very clear mandate. We simply cannot fight this new threat with our old methods. The private sector, specifically the AI leaders themselves, had to step up and forge a new kind of defensive alliance. And that alliance is called Project Glasswing. It's being led by the very companies at the cutting edge, Anthropic, Google, and Microsoft. Its mission is direct and simple: fight machine speed offense with machine speed defense. They're essentially turning these powerful AI tools inward, using them to automatically find and help fix these critical vulnerabilities before the bad guys can. Now, to really understand the financial stakes here, just consider this. The annual cost of cybercrime is already hitting $500 billion. The initial commitment to Project Glasswing is $100 million in compute credits. And while that's a huge and significant first step, it really underscores the massive asymmetry here and the immense financial incentive for this defensive alliance to succeed. So what are they doing right now? What are the immediate actions? First, they're arming the defenders. They're committing $100 million in usage credits to give over 40 member organizations access to these defensive AI tools. And second, they're shoring up the foundations, donating $4 million directly to those critical open source projects that really form the backbone of our entire digital world. Which brings us to the conclusion of our briefing today and to the new reality that we all must now operate in. This is about so much more than just technology. It's about a fundamental shift in what leadership and strategy even mean. If you take away only one thing, let it be this. The paradigm has shifted. For decades, we've managed cyber risk at the speed of human deliberation, through committees and quarterly reviews and long reports. That era is over. Our defense, our response, our entire security posture must now operate at the speed of AI, period. And that leaves us with the critical question for everyone in a leadership position. And this isn't just a question for your CIO or your CISO. This is a question for the board, for the C-suite. As both cyber offense and defense accelerate to machine speed, what is the new role for human judgment? How do we steer our institutions through a world where risk evolves literally faster than we can think?